working from home syndrome. Obviously, some people have been doing it more than others. Some people's jobs aren't able to work from home, but those of us who can, we're not having a great work setup at the moment. So we've kind of named this working from home syndrome because there are some components to it. And it's really, if we thought that ergonomics were important before this pandemic, we are definitely seeing, especially in our office, the effects of even just a bad chair, never mind where your mouse is, where your keyboard is, how tall your screen is, to the body and its effects on just everything from low back pain to concentration, headaches, mood irritability. And during this pandemic, we definitely don't need to add to that. So we're going to talk. This is what this is a little agenda for the evening. What is work from home syndrome? What does it look like? Does this apply to me and to my kids? Because kids are doing a lot of remote online as well. What happens if I don't do anything about it? What can I do about it? And then at the end, we're going to have some time for questions and comments. Okay, so if you guys can just verify for me that you can see there's pictures of a guy and there's some big X's on what not to do. Perfect. Okay, so how familiar is this? Working on your desk, on your laptop, on the couch. We definitely don't want you spending 8 hours a day like this in that posture. So also at the counter, doing your laptop, leaning over your bar stool, your kitchen table, your side table. All of these postures are not good, and I'm going to explain it to you why. Also, a lot of times people don't really realize that what their feet are doing on the ground is also important. So we're going to address that as well. So we have a few real life examples of patients from our clinic. Basically what we've been doing during this time is asking patients to submit pictures of themselves at their desk so that we can at least help them. We're not as good as an in-office ergonomic assessment team, but we can definitely help. So for example, this particular gentleman here, he's got what seems to be a nice chair. However, he's still rounding forward. He's probably not sitting all the way back, and his head is over his shoulder. He's leaning into the desk, and his head is very much forward on his body, so that's causing a lot of extra tension in the neck area there. This fine gentleman here is trying his very best, I'm sure, to have a good posture. However, his little buttocks need to be a little bit closer to the back of the chair so that his head and shoulders are more stacked on his pelvis. And in a straight back chair like this scenario, a little pillow might be helpful as well. Okay, this lovely lady has a nice chair, but again, we do not have any contact between her upper body or her lower body and the back of the chair. Your body should be sitting right to the back, and so that your upper back is also touching the chair, again, so that your head is over your body and your weight is being distributed with gravity as opposed to head hanging forward against gravity. And if you can appreciate her feet at the very bottom here, they're kind of not quite on the ground. So she's got some pull down below as well as from above. So not surprisingly, when she went back to work only 2 hours or 2 weeks after she'd been off during the major lockdown, her headaches and her upper back neck pain got worse. So we asked for pictures and we said, oh honey, this is why. So moving on, here are some better desk setups. So if you do have a laptop, having an external keyboard and a mouse is helpful so that your screen is at eye level, as well as if you have multiple screens, both of these pictures show the multiple screens. You want to make sure that they're as central as possible. Obviously, this lady has 3, so she can't quite, they're as close as she can get them. But this gentleman's doing a better job. You want that center of those 2 screens midline to your face, so that really it's just your eyes going back and forth and not turning your head back and forth. Okay, so again, these are better setups than most. However, she's still not got her back to the back of the chair. She's still leaning forward. And again, that's likely a function of needing to see the screen and it being a little bit smaller. This gentleman here, I don't think this chair is fantastic. He could have a little bit more support in his upper back, but he is sitting very well to the back of the chair, as well as his shoulder and elbow are in line. The mouse is in a spot where he doesn't have to reach for it. Okay. Kids also are impacted right now. We're seeing a lot of the computer syndrome, working person at an office worker problems in children because they've been working at home themselves. So we definitely want to make sure that the chair is not too big for the child, that they have some proper support in the back. Again, their feet aren't dangling either. Okay, so that you've got a nice 90-90, so that this is great for where his eyes are. This particular one, however, this little desk, the chair is a little bit better. However, now his desk is too short. So we want to raise that screen up just a tiny bit so that he's in that better position. Kids are very malleable at this point. They can bend and are very flexible, so they can utilize different postures while they're using their laptops. They can be on their knees. You can also have an exercise ball that they can sit on. Again, just wanting to make sure that the computer screen for them is at eye level. Okay. A child laying on their stomach on their computer, a younger child is not as big of an issue as an older person. That helps, like it says here, it's great for increasing strength in their upper body, as well as it prevents them from developing what we call tech snack, or what people have called tech snack. So Dr. Ralph is going to talk a little bit about what happens if you do nothing.
All right, thank you, Dr. Royer, for going over some of those examples. Amazing work, and thank you for everybody that provided those images for us. So, what happens if I do nothing? In this image, you can see, what that kind of looks like, even if looking at your cell phone. As your head moves forward, even, a couple degrees here and there, we start to add a lot of weight to the rest of our spine, and then therefore putting a lot more tension on the body. So we see something like this would cause a lot more stiffness and tightness, a lot of that muscle tension in the neck. That can result in things like headaches and backaches. And also we start to lose energy and focus. We start to be more irritable, which we don't need right now, right? And so, focusing on first the postural component of this and desk setup can also help you to hold your adjustments a lot better. After this, don't go in the waiting room or go home and get back on and look at your phone like this. It's kind of like walking around with a bowling ball in front of you. Your arms will get tired after a while. That's how your head feels on the rest of your body.
All right, so what can we do about it? I touched a little bit on what was wrong with those other, with the pictures and that we had gotten from some patients. So this basically is just a nice summary of what we're looking for. You want to make sure that your wrists and your elbow is in line, and a gradual slope from your shoulder. So you don't want to ever be doing this on your desk, trying to reach for your mouse. You always want that elbow as close to your side as possible, making sure that the screen height is correct. You want to make sure that the chair height is correct as well, to accommodate more of a perpendicular thigh, as opposed to it being sloped down or sloped up if it's too high or too low. And we do want to make sure that you've got your feet flat on the floor. And if you need to, I mean, this gentleman here in this picture used a FedEx box. You can use a stack of paper. You know, it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to help. Okay. You can get, you know, most companies would provide, you know, a footstool. However, you know, we've done a lot of makeshift stuff this year. So I'm sure there's some things in your home that can help. Always want to make sure that your buttocks are on the very back of that chair. You want to make sure your shoulders and your hips and your ears are all lined up, one on top of each other. Also making sure that your upper back touches that chair. And if you would like, at any point, and we are offering this to, you know, even friends and family, if they want to take pictures like you've seen here of our patients' work setups, so from the side, as well as a bit of a 45-degree angle, so that we can get an idea of how we can help. Even just a few little tweaks makes a huge, huge difference. Now, so are you guys, most of you guys have our email already. It's envivechiropractic@bellnet.ca. Again, this is being recorded. You can forward this to your friends and family, as well as these slides will be available as well. Okay. So don't feel like if you're writing this down and you miss anything, you'll definitely get this information. So for people who have laptops, you don't necessarily need to be sitting on your desk, but you also don't want to be that slouched lady at the one of the first pictures. This is a perfect setup to be on the couch. And again, you don't want to be, or not again, I should say, one of the things that we recommend is that you get up at least every 20 minutes, half an hour would be ideal. And the way you can facilitate that is set a timer on your phone. And you don't have to, you know, you don't have to stand up or stop what you're doing for very long. Just a minute is enough, just to kind of get your body a little bit of motion in there, and then you can sit back down. If you are sitting on a couch, you want to make sure that it's not one where you're sinking in and that you've got some support in your low back. And if not, just add a little pillow there. But again, you can see her shoulders and hips and ears are all lined up on each other. She's got her external mouse and keyboard and staring at her monitor. Perfect. Again, if this is her laptop at her desk, like the previous patient's pictures, she has an external keyboard as well as a mouse. She's probably leaning a little further back than I would like, but her head is still on her shoulders, right above her shoulders, which is what we want. That is the ideal. We want to make sure that that's not hanging forward, because that adds a lot of extra work to the muscles in the back of the neck, and which causes tension, which causes fatigue, which causes the headaches. Okay. Some of us are equipped with standing desks, which is fantastic. Here's just some modifications for that. When you're standing, switching legs left to right, as well as both, is a good practice. If you can get one of those kitchen mats, those anti-fatigue mats that you see, I do believe they have them at Costco for relatively inexpensive. Also, what you can do to change things up is just have a little footrest. And again, that could be anything. That could be a piece of 2x4, that could be a couple of yoga blocks, that could be a box from Amazon, because you've had to order from there a lot this year, I'm sure. This picture here shows really where you want your things to be on your desk. You want to make this, the green area, your primary workspace again, so you're not reaching, you're not forward bending. And then as the things you need less and less are just still within reach, however, not in, you know, keeping your area kind of clean there. So we do want to avoid sitting cross-legged on chairs. I know for some people, myself included, I'm very bad for that. But what that does is that just, you know, puts extra pressure, especially on your pelvis and your knees. So depending on how the condition of your knees, you want to try to avoid that for prolonged periods for sure. When you are on calls, if you have an earbud, if you've got a headset, never, ever this, please, I beg of you, never this. That is, I would rather you hang your head forward than do this, okay? That just jams you right up and is just a recipe. You're just asking for trouble with that one. You can alternate, like I said, sitting to standing if you're lucky enough to have that standing desk. Again, taking time to schedule breaks. If you need to, just set your timer on your phone. Most of us have a smartphone. If not, we're working from home. I'm sure you have a kitchen timer. You can even set one on your, your microwave or your oven. So you want that to be 20 to 30 minutes every 20 to 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be there very long. You're going to stretch and you move your body. So we've got a few stretches that we're going to go over in, I believe, right now.
Excellent. So I'm just going to go through 2 wonderful stretches that will help you handle some of the stress when you are working at the desk at home. So the first, as you can see, is our little pool noodle trick. So with that, we recommend that you put the pool noodle, I'm just going to borrow Dr. Royer here, right under the shoulder blade. So just, you can feel right where the triangle is of that shoulder blade, right there. And you're going to lay down on the floor on top of this, just relaxing on top of it. As you can see also in this picture, Dr. Royer has a little pillow behind her head. All right, thank you. And so that just helps to support, especially if we start to get some of that anterior head carriage. So when our head starts to go forward, and then we're trying to lay flat on this pool noodle to help decrease some of that tension in the upper back, it will just help with some of that head forward carriage there, okay? So what we recommend is starting at 2 minutes. You don't wanna, go run a marathon if you've never run a kilometer in your life. So same thing with this, right? More is not necessarily better at this stage of the game. So you just wanna lay on that pool noodle starting for 2 minutes, twice a day, and then building up to a 5-minute ratio there, okay? The most important part of this is when you're done, please, please, please always roll to your side to get up. Don't do a power sit up after that, kind of will mess up everything we just worked on that 2 minutes for, okay? Thank you. And so the next one, I like to call that the you win, they lose, so the YWTL. And so you can see my little image here. What you want to do for that, you're going to have your arms up in a Y position. Sorry, Dr. Royer. In a Y position, palms facing in or up for all of these. And you want to make sure your shoulders are relaxed, and then you're going to squeeze together your shoulder blades at the back. There. The neck, you're going to hold that for about 15 to 30 seconds. And then you're going to move down to a W, palms in, just drop those shoulders down first, and then squeeze your shoulder blades back together. Just also making sure that your head's not coming forward when you're doing that, making sure that's in line, your ears in line with your shoulder as much as possible. Holding for about 15 to 30 seconds. Then you're going to go into a T, palms up, drop those shoulders down, squeeze those shoulder blades back together. Again, for about 15 to 30 seconds. And then you're going to bring your elbows in for the double L's. Again, for about 15 to 30 seconds. So again, I like to call that the you win, they lose. You're winning because you're stretching, they're losing because they're not stretching.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Ralph. Okay, so this was meant to be just a really quick, easy, informative talk. So we're almost done. Our main conclusions here today are, what we say often is that it's most important to address your posture when doing the things you do most often. And that's, for most of us, work. And at a computer. So we get asked a lot, what can we do at home to help myself feel better? And this is one of them, making sure that you do have a good desk set up so that you're not adding to your problem, okay? And if you've not had, an ergonomic assessment by us, it's not too late. Like I said, anyone can email pictures into Envive. We can set up a consult with any friends or family, a quick little chat. Any damage done up to this point can be corrected. So hear me when I say you're not doomed because you haven't been sitting properly this entire time. The best time to change something that's not working is now, okay? And so that, you know, you're going forward, you can have much more energy, comfort, just be able to handle the stress of what's going on in the world around you, as well as your work. Okay, so you can always schedule a call. Our phone number is here. You can email and request a call. And if you know your friends and family have never been to a chiropractor before, we do have technology that measures how irritated your nerves are, and any muscle tension and muscle tension to see exactly how your body has been affected so far. Like I said, we are recording this, and you can send that out, and we can send you these we can email the slides out to you as well, should you want them. Okay, so now it's time for our question period. If anybody has any questions, you can either unmute yourself or you can just type into the chat.
Yes, hi, I've got a question.
Sure.
Yeah, so I found that really informative. So thank you both. I think it's a great idea to talk. So the stretches that you highly recommended, let's say after 20 minutes or so, would you also recommend any breath work at that time?
Oh yes, you can definitely utilize that time to take some slow, deep breaths.
Yeah.
To get your oxygen flowing. A lot of times when we are working, that's excellent question, my dear. Thank you so much. We tend to not breathe when we're working, and like you'll probably, if you pay attention, you'll probably start noticing this as well. Now that you're in the middle of doing something, and then it's like, okay, now I can breathe. So this would be a perfect time, especially lying on your back, and even doing the big stretches. You can do 4 or 5 deep breaths and then move on to the next.
Okay.
So yeah, no, that would be a great idea.
Thank you. Okay,
thank you so much, Joan.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I think we would love to get a copy of this so that we could make sure that we're clear about what we have to do.
Yes. Okay. So we'll definitely email that out. And I'm going to send those to Vic as well.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to touch on that too, the breathing work too. That's a wonderful question. And, like Dr. Royer said, we're not breathing as much when we're working, as we realize after you're probably holding your breath, especially if you're working and you're really stressed out, right? And then you're like, why am I getting a headache? I'm also not getting oxygen to my brain. So, a fun little trick to do too is the physiological posture of the body. When we're sitting forward like this, try to take a deep breath in. Not as good. Now try to sit up nice and tall, and now take a breath in. So when your shoulders are back, you're able to expand your lungs and take in a better breath. Okay, so that's going to be so helpful just to remember to breathe, and then that postural component.
Yeah,
thank you.
And also thank you, Vic, for that feedback. We try to be helpful. Also with the breathing, making sure you're breathing from your diaphragm, so from your belly and not your chest. Not here, more from below, so you can't really see my hand from there. So yeah, so those would be 2 great tips. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And I hope that you did get something from this. And we look forward to, we're going to be having these little meetings, virtual meetings. It's easy to get to, and everyone's used to Zoom now, monthly. And we will be, so there'll be different topics. And again, just a quick 20 minutes and nothing too long or fancy. All right, thank you so much for joining our very first inaugural.
Yay.
Thank you so much.